Hi, this is Simon Alsop. This week, we're sitting down to have a chat with Steve Hui from iFly Flat. I've known Steve for many years. In fact, we first crossed paths in an entrepreneurs group almost 10 years ago. And the people in this group worked extremely hard, but they also appreciated the importance of some rejuvenation time. They all loved their travel. And Steve, otherwise known as the Points Whisperer, has done the maths and done the calculations to figure out which credit cards, which points, which flights that these business owners, and even which expenses these business owners could be putting on a credit card to gain points so that they can be flying business for the price of economy. We're going to have a chat to him today to unlock some of the secrets and understand a bit more about what he can do for small business owners. So, Steve, thanks for taking the time out to have a chat with us today and tell us a little bit about your business, iFly Flat. For those that might not have heard of you before, do you mind telling us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks. So I'm Steve from iFly Flat. So I'm the founder and CEO of iFly Flat. It's called a Points Whisperer. And what I do, we turn people's frequent flyer points and credit card points into first and business class bookings, international bookings. So basically, we help people fly business class and first class pretty much anywhere in the world for about the price of economy. And imagine if you could fly anywhere in the world for the price of economy. Like the world is your oyster because
Completely. I mean, especially as I look for myself, usually when I'm traveling, it's with family as well too. So everything's kind of multiplied. So any sort of benefit you can get, and especially as the kids get bigger and bigger and the seats feel like they get smaller and smaller, I guess figuring out how you can, get a slightly bigger seat for the price of the smaller ones is really interesting. So I guess, how did you come across this idea and how does it work? I mean, we see points out in almost everything we do. There are points at Woolies, there are points on Flybys, there are points on every different sort of credit card you look at. How did you, I guess, come across this idea, and how do you figure out the good ones from the bad ones?
Yeah, so my background's an accountant, so I'm a CPA qualified accountant. So in my mind, everything's in terms of numbers. How do you get value from this? How do you get value from that? Right. So therefore, that's always working in the background. So how I came across points is that points is something, it's probably one of the only things where you basically get points for nothing, just by doing something. So you mentioned Flybys, and there's all these different points, right? They are all offered to you to encourage you to do more shopping at Woolworths, more shopping at Coles, or credit card points, more spending on that credit card, or say frequent flyer points, more flying on that airline. So basically, it's a marketing activity that gives you points. But the magic of that is you can actually sort of like create a structure to earn these points on a large scale. And that's pretty much what I worked out. So when I sort of left my sort of corporate finance role about 9 years ago, I knew that there's all this money in points, but people just didn't know what to do with them. So it's literally like people throwing money in the street away. And I just thought, as an accountant, doesn't sound... Yeah,
true. I mean, getting any sort of thing for free these days gets you a little bit suspicious. I mean, sometimes it feels like, are they trying to gamify it by us creating all these points that you get 1 million points and you can redeem it for a $10 voucher? Or I guess this must be part of the research you've done on figuring out where you can get the best bang for your buck on earning points. Because I mean, you see some people and they'll redeem gift vouchers or all these sorts of different things on credit cards. So
I think that's why it's quite exciting, this sense of space, because like you said, so one point, like points can be redeemed for a whole variety of different items. And you get emails on a daily basis from Qantas or Flybys saying redeem your points here, redeem your points there. But there's a wide range of value you can get from them. And that's why I find interesting, because generally when you spend money always is the same value. And it all comes down to whether you can negotiate a discount or not to try and get more value from that $1,000, for example. Or your frequent flyer points, and how you choose to spend that, you can get value up to 700 times. That's the gap I find in terms of value.
Really? So when you're converting the points, it's up to 700 times different between whether you choose the voucher, the coffee machine, or the flights.
Yes, that's right. So that's
right.
That's the one end, and the other end is business class flights, which is 7 times higher value.
Really?
And the same amount of points in a way. It's just how you choose to spend them. That's that's what I find the most interesting, because it's your choice versus their choice.
Okay, so you actually have the control over the level of value that you extract from the points that you're given on the card. That's a good point. That's a good point. So you actually control it. I mean, and look, I've noticed, obviously through the years that we've known each other, that you focus on working with small business owners. And so I guess part of the reason is small business owners do have the ability to probably put a larger spend on a credit card than the average individual out there. So can you talk me through some of the tricks or some of the strategies that you may use with small businesses, and what sort of things small business owners are putting on cards? Because I imagine it's not just their Uber fares that add up to enough to be able to get a business class flight.
For every small business owner, they're also an individual as well. So, but you sort of wear many hats. And the reason why I've chosen to work with small to medium-sized companies, is because they are the type of group that any benefit you can score out is a personal benefit. So it's not like you're just saving money for the company and then the savings just like disappear into the ether. Every single small business owner is people working for themselves. And if they can save $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 on flights, that's their own money, and they can see it and they can feel it. So, and obviously the beauty of small business is you can spend a lot more money paying stuff. And that's the gist of running a business. You got to spend money to make money.
Yeah. And
what it is that the biggest opportunities that so many small businesses are not paying things like the ATO with their credit card. They're not paying their contractors, the rent, suppliers. Basically, if you think of every single expense that a business pays, the only thing you can't pay is interest or loans with a credit card. You can pay everything else.
Even look, for a lot of the small businesses we work with, their two largest expenses are most likely going to be rent, wages, and maybe a third, the ATO.
Badge, things like that. PAYG.
Exactly, all of that. And so you think you've got a way where those three things can be paid through credit card?
Can all be paid through credit card.
Wow.
They all have a different cost to it, so they each attract different type of fees. And I guess one thing probably to talk about here, what we're trying to do is a price arbitrage. And to explain it is, when you use frequent flyer points to fly business class and first class, you're getting about 3 to 4 cents per point return.
Right.
But if you can earn those points at 1 cent, 1.5 cents, and you basically, every time you fly business class, it's less than half price. And that's basically the structure.
For the point, I guess.
You're creating a structure. You basically buy low, sell high. And that's exactly the same idea as running a business. So if you're running a fruit shop, you're buying it for cheap from a wholesaler, you're selling it retail for higher. And this is the same idea of frequent flyer points. You buy low because you can, and you use them high.
And it's almost like you're accumulating lots of little bits along the way too. So it's not one big hit at the time you travel. So I guess you're banking them as you go. So it's almost like a little savings towards your points balance.
It's a travel bank. That's how I feel about it. It's like
awesome.
Like every invoice you pay is the opportunity to earn points. You take that opportunity, and then later you use those points to fly, and you typically save $6,000-$7,000 per flight to Europe. That's good money. That's like real money.
Huge. And look, with international borders opening up from Australia, I think Europe and potentially the Americas, there's going to be a lot of long haul flights, places that people want to go to see family, see friends that they haven't seen in a very long time.
For sure. I think just the freedom I find, if you have frequent flyer points and you can fly business class, the freedom to go anywhere. Because let's just say you had a mate who's having a wedding, is in UK. And you got, well, am I going to pay $2,000 to fly economy? And that's what sucks a bit because it's a bit tight. Or you're not going to pay $10,000 to fly business class to your mate's wedding. Because then you still got to give them a gift.
True.
It's going to cost you like 20 grand.
you'd prefer to spend that on the accommodation or living at large while you're over there, I guess.
Yeah. But if you had accumulated these points, then you can fly there because it sort of feels like it's free flight anyway.
Yeah, true.
So I think that's the thing about points. But I think just remembering, coming back to the ATO payments, what I found is like the most reliable way to earn points.
Right.
Because every month, every quarter, you're running a business.
Yeah.
You got GST, you got
PAYG, GST. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. All those things.
So look, a common preconception with frequent flyer points is that sometimes the flights can be hard to book, or you've got to book a long way in advance. What are your thoughts around that and the availability of bookings to be able to use these points that we've accumulated?
Yeah, it's a really good question because obviously you can accumulate. So finding frequent flyer seats, I think most people don't understand. It's a little bit like fishing. It changes all the time. It's not just look now, if there's nothing, there's nothing. It's a global system that's continuously changing.
Yeah, right.
Maybe once every hour, but definitely every day. So basically, if you're looking for seats, you basically keep looking because it changes all the time.
Okay.
And being flexible helps because what you're trying to do, you're just trying to find. So frequent flyer seats are limited, but they do exist.
Yes.
And so the win scenario is that if you come across, you book them, then you secure them. So that's a trade-off. Okay. But if you're saving $5,000 or $6,000 per ticket, that's a pretty good trade-off.
Oh, definitely. And so do you find you have to be a little bit flexible in the airlines that you choose? And I guess the lead on to that question is, do you have some favorites that you've traveled on? Yeah.
So if you think about globally, obviously if we're in Australia, so therefore everyone has Qantas points. And that makes sense because Qantas is the biggest airline in Australia. It flies everywhere. And actually Qantas points are very easy to earn. Yeah. But when we go into detail, Qantas in terms of points cost more to fly everywhere in terms of points. Yeah, right. So if you fly to Europe, in Singapore, for example, Singapore airline points is 20% lower to fly business class or anywhere or first class. But if you're going to US, then sort of Virgin is cheaper than Qantas. So basically every airline is cheaper than Qantas, except that you wouldn't fly Singapore Airlines to Los Angeles because you have to fly via Singapore to Los Angeles. Yeah. So once you get into the detail, it gets a little bit more complicated, but value is there.
The value's still there. Yeah, that's awesome. So look, we're coming out of lockdown in Sydney at the moment. Where are some of the places that are going to be first on your hit list to travel to?
Oh, I think I really love Tokyo. I'm just still thinking about the food because as soon as you land in Tokyo, any shop, the more Japanese it is, you just go in, you just point, and you know the food's just going to be like just delicious.
Amazing. Nice.
I do want to go back to New York as well, like New York, the vibe, the culture.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Oh, there's nothing like the buzz of New York. New York seems to be one of those cities that is so big that it has something for everyone. So many different districts, all within the same space.
Always changing, always something new. And the beauty about then you go back to your favorites.
Yes.
And then you go to something new. Yeah. It's always exploring. So I love that.
Awesome. No, I love that. Look, that kind of wraps up our chat for today, but just want to say thank you so much for spending the time to, I guess, fill us in on what you do, but also fill us in on how business owners can, I guess, get a little bit of something for themselves in their day-to-day operations that is really not going to cost them any extra, but can have a massive influence on, I guess, enjoying their personal time and making the most of the time to rejuvenate and recharge inside their downtime in their business.
I think this is one of the best travel perks of running a business. Yeah. And I call it the greatest travel hack of all time because it's completely legit and you can control. Yeah.
Well, I just think it's misunderstood and there's a misconceived perception around it from some people. So the fact that you've been able to find this space where you can demystify it and actually analytically say, look, this is a great decision. It is worth paying the merchant fee on this because it's actually going to save you X amount down the track. I mean, as an accountant, I just love that analytical explanation on why it's a great idea.
I think you hit the point is because it's actually numbers and finance.
Yeah.
So I think there's two things. Flybys, if you ever connected Flybys points, you knew that you would have got nothing because Flybys ruined the whole perception that there's any value,
Completely.
and also the analytical approach to it. So the two things. So people think flyby funds are useless, frequent flyer funds are useless, right? That they throw all that out the back. But they never build a spreadsheet to go, if I do this specifically, it costs me $1,000 to get the points, I can get it something worth $4,000 or $5,000 back.
Yeah.
And once you do that, it actually becomes a no-brainer.
Definitely. That's gold. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Steve.
Cool, thanks, Simon.
Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.